Welcome back to Crypto Crazy. On my last video, which you'll see a link to here, we did a comparison of performance between the 1660 Supers against an RTX 3070 Ti. Now there's been lots of engagement and lots of conversation about that, and you guys have had a lot to say about settings on those 1660s. So we're going to look at that, but what we're really going to focus on is the difference between mega hash per second and kilohash per watt. Before we do that, if you could please do this. Okay, if we look here, we're looking at my my familiar settings, where as you can see the gigabytes running about 28.77, but I'd really like to point out these numbers here, so and focus on my average, which keeps jumping up and down. There you go, 430 kilohash per watt. Let's look at those numbers. Let's remember those. So on the four cards, you've got 411, 423, 449, and 437. Okay, somebody make a note of that, because we're going to use that as a measure of the settings we're about to try. If you notice this important point here, because there have been lots of comments about the memory type. So they're all Hynix. They're all running on the same setting, but we're getting very different results when you look at how the ASUS TUF is performing. So we're going to see if we can get those gigabytes there to compete with the ASUS TUF or do a little better. But one thing it doesn't show you in this view is what's going on with kilohash per watt. So we can see mega hash, and that's a per second. So that's very important to distinguish right now. So mega hash per second is how much hash rate you're getting over time. But the other thing to consider to balance that out in your strategy is how much is it costing you. What's your profitability, hash rate versus wattage? So the difference that's going to make is all about strategy. So if you're like many thinking, okay, well, if you're mining Ethereum, we don't know how long we've got left. Hash rate, let's get as much as we can. However, we don't know what's going to happen with the value of Ethereum over a period of time. Some people are talking about things like the flippening, where we could see its value overtake the value of Bitcoin. Others think we might be in for a crypto winter. So depending on where you live and the cost of electricity where you are, in the US they say they get a much cheaper electricity rate than where I get where I live. I live on an island, so we have a very different arrangement, and so I have to be very conscious of power cost. So let's get into changing these settings. What you just saw, so you saw what, 430 kilohash per watt. I'm just looking up on the screen above me now. It's about 47. So you get slight fluctuations, as I'm sure you're used to seeing with your own rigs. So this card here, it's running at 71 watts. I can see on the screen above me it's got a kilohash rating of 411 kilohash per watt. So I'm going to go to the first. I'm going to change to this setting that came from one of you, which I'm going to change the core clock to 1050. In fact, all the settings that have been recommended today have a core clock of 1050. This is where they different. So there's been a suggestion on changing from a negative to a positive on the memory clock. So the first one we're going to try is this one, which is 2100. Leave the power at 80. Leave the fans on auto. I'm going to apply that one sent. In fact, do you know what? Let's just go ahead and do all of those, shall we? Okay, so here we go. So interesting, all the gigabytes now are running at 30.51 mega hash. But interestingly, that the ASUS TUF with a positive memory setting has dropped from a 31 point whatever it was to 26.22. Interestingly, there have been some conversations backwards and forwards on the channel, on the last video, saying about that Hynix prefer a positive memory clock, whereas Micron prefers a negative, and as we're seeing here, that's not true. So I think what we'll do first of all then, well actually I'm just going to show you on the other screen, because the purpose of this exercise is to compare mega hash to per second to kilohash per watt. So I'm just going to do that right now. So looking there right now, the average is 394 kilohash per watt, which is rubbish compared to where we were. So we've got 396, 418, 424, which is it's a bit of no, it's all a drop, and 339, terrible from the ASUS. So we need to do something about that, don't we? So okay, let's go back into those settings. Let's immediately put. I have another setting to try. I'm not going to bother on the ASUS TUF Gaming because it just gets worse. So I'm going to put that back to what it was before, which was 900 on the core clock and minus 1004 on the memory clock, and that is without a shadow of doubt the optimal settings that I've found for that card. I've played up and down a little bit with core clock, and all it does is make it less efficient. The average kilohash per watt. Now looking up, yeah, we're in a better place. So about 430 was our where we started from with the original settings. We're now seeing it looking at 415 kilohash per watt. So that's not bad at all. We've seen a hash increase of, what did we have before? 118.2 is what we were getting before, and we are currently getting 123.4. So we've seen a drop of, in fact, it's just gone up a little bit. So 420 kilohash per watt is what we're seeing there at 123.4. So I'm actually quite happy with that. That's not a bad result. So we've still got a very similar, only a slight difference in kilohash per watt and an increase in mega hash per second. So that's not bad at all. Now, there is another setting to try, which I'm going to go and apply now, where we will, what we'll see is we'll take that mega hash up a little further, which is always exciting. We're going to take, what we're simply going to do is we are going to take that up to 2800 on the memory clocks, the only difference. Alright, so there we are. Those have settled in now, and I think that result is pretty good. It's taken the power consumption up quite a way, so we're pushing over, well actually this is my calculation not quite right here. It says 348 watts there. At the wall it's about 355, so the consumption's gone up quite a bit, but wow, look at that hash rate. So we are getting 3143, 3197, 3143 again, and then of course this stuff was always at 3190. So we're getting a higher hash rate out of one of the gigabytes than one of the, and then out of the ASUS. That's fantastic. So I think what this test really illustrates is what some of you talk about is a silicon lottery. You might have heard that term. Now, what silicon lottery means, it just means that there are slight imperfections in the manufacturing process of all the components in anything that you buy. And mining is a really good way to show up those differences. That's why we've got 3 identical cards in there that all have slightly different results. If we look at the first card and the third card, they're getting the same hash rate, but they're getting using different amount of power to achieve it. One at 79 watts, one at 74. And also, for some bizarre reason, one is taking much more effort to cool. The third one there is taking more effort to cool than everybody else. And while we're talking about the cooling, if you look at the ASUS one, why is that one fans only run at 45% when you've got the Gigabytes working so hard to keep cool? I'd say it's probably something to do with the heatsink, but we'll talk about thermodynamics in another video, I think. But just focusing on this one. So now what we want to see is what that average. So we had 420 last time. We started with 430, right? Kilohash per watt. Then on the first setting, it dropped to 420. Now let's have a look what we're getting right now. So it's currently at 422 kilohash per watt. Now I think for a gain of we're getting 126.73 megahash per second right now. So looking at those figures, that's not bad at all. You're getting a great megahash, and profitability wise, kilohash per watt. However, understanding what that's costing you and what your strategy is very important, because for me, I know that my electricity averages out at around £35 a month for me to run that rig. Looking at affordability as you go, are you happy to do that, to pay that electricity? Because what are you going to do? You're going to cash out what you've mined each month? I suggest not in this current market. That wouldn't be very sensible. So bear that in mind. It's worth considering what your kilohash per watt is, understanding how much you're burning month for month and what your electricity units cost you in that decision. Now, where I live, there is a situation where half the day my electricity is charged at one rate, and over night time it's a third of the price. So if the market stays doing this, going low, and I know there's going to be electricity price hike for me in the next couple of weeks, I might start thinking about, well, do I mine 24/7? Is it going to work out? Is it still profitable? Or do I not take the advice of Dan Bull and only mine at night? There we are. So there's some of my thoughts. Please consider the difference between kilohash per watt and megahash per second. If you just focus on megahash per second, that's fine, as long as you understand what it's costing you to chase those higher numbers. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.